Today I want to talk about 5 ways to conclude that a loved one is a lost cause and it's probably time to move on. And we're talking about alcoholism and alcohol use disorder. When you have a loved one who is doing these particular 5 things or a large part of them, and they're not changing, they're not willing to change, and they're gaslighting and projecting that it's everybody else's fault, and they're taking no culpability for their own actions or working on themselves with their own disease. And this is really talking about for families. It's time to create boundaries and to create a line in the sand that can no longer be crossed. It's really about protecting the people that are in the alcoholic's life. And again, I want to stress really very, very importantly that this is not to disparage alcoholics. This is to create an understanding and really make defining lines for families so that they can protect themselves and their own emotional issues that when dealing with an alcoholic, because it can be unbelievably stressful. That's really what it's about. And again, these are pretty obvious clues, but and this doesn't pertain to everybody, but it does pertain to people, and a large part of this might be relatable and certainly resonate with families. But if they've become a danger to themselves and everyone around themselves, for example, maybe they have several DUIs, they've attended rehabs, but maybe they're not doing it for the right reasons. They're doing it to placate the people in their life. And it's kind of obvious because they're just going through the motions. Maybe they've been in jail a few times for DUIs or for things related to drug and alcohol addiction. And nothing stops them, and they continue to do the same mistakes over and over and over again. And it's gone on for years and years and years. And after a while, the excuses, they really don't even make any, they don't even resonate anybody. Nobody even believes them anymore. Very sad place to be for everybody involved. Another scary, really emotion that a lot of alcoholics have is this kind of a defiant emotion. That say they have a restricted license or a revoked license. They've had a number of DUIs, and they still continue to drink and drive. Maybe they've even been incarcerated, and it makes no difference to them. They don't care if they put themselves or other people in harm's way. It's kind of time to distance yourself that way, and maybe even maybe even get in the way of that, and maybe tell the local police, what, I got somebody who's a loose cannon and we're very concerned with their family member. Not always the most ideal way to go, but sometimes you need to distance yourself from that and protect yourself and the other people in your community against this issue. And another telltale sign, this is really the third one, is maybe they've attended several rehab inpatient facilities. And again, it just seems like they're placating everybody in their life. Like maybe they're doing it for the court and they're not really doing it for themselves. They're doing it to placate their family members, to look like they're doing something. Or maybe they're attending AA meetings, but they're not really going. They say they're going. And it's all about placating the people in their life, and they're not, essentially doing the work that they're supposed to do. They're not doing their continued aftercare work in Smart Recovery or AA or LifeRing or whatever, community group therapy that they're doing, and they're not following up with their counseling. They're not doing the work, and they're dancing around it because they don't want to. They want to go drink. They're not ready to recover. They haven't hit their rock bottom. And they don't, the biggest issue here is they're not really that concerned with their consequences because they're not taking their own sobriety seriously. And this fourth one is especially difficult for families because if you have somebody who's in a deep and obvious denial, they're gaslighting, everything is about deflection. It's everybody else's fault. It's my parents' fault. It's the government's fault. It's the school's fault. It's my spouse's fault. It's the kid's fault. Everybody else's fault, and they take no culpability. I'm drinking because everybody's being mean to me, type of thing, and they take no responsibility. Well, then you got a serious problem, and that doesn't change. And it doesn't change through the rehabs, doesn't change through getting DUIs, maybe being incarcerated. All these things don't need to take place, but it's a general attitude that they're not there and they're not ready to take culpability, and it's gone on too long. Maybe it's gone on for a decade, and you're not seeing any growth or any evolvement from that person. It's time to really create boundaries as a family. Other telltale obvious signs are, they black out on a regular basis. They have serious health issues and they're not taking care of themselves. Maybe they disappear for days. They're literally a family member, and nobody knows where they are. They're just gone, and then they reappear, or they're fine. That you get a call and you find out that they're in an emergency room because someone has picked them up or found them somewhere. They're on a very steep decline, and they're in a very difficult situation. It's not a time to abandon somebody, but there comes a time where you either have to explain that it's time for no contact or limited contact, because they've wreaked such havoc in your life and in everyone else's life. Tough love is a big part of it, and there's a time for tough love, and there's a time for empathy. And if somebody isn't showing any signs of wanting to get better or doing the work, you can't want something more for somebody than they want it for themselves, and you cannot fix someone else. And I hope these kind of scenarios have helped you as a family member. And I hope they help the alcoholic recognize, what they're doing to their family, which is really a large part of what this page is about. And again, I want to point out, I go live Monday through Friday, right around 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Again, we have the Facebook group. It's called There's an Alcoholic in the Family. Link is in my bio, as well as when you're ready to work with me one-on-one. I have a complete coaching program that helps alcoholics and their families. And again, I'm looking for people who want to change their lives and the lives of their family. And again, thanks so much for listening.